right, so I think we are live here with the fifth annual Cool K-PAC competition. So this year's version is going to be a little bit different than years past. We had a lot of submittals for different customer presentations, different use case examples. So in the interest of time, we kind of shortened this particular session. We did select the winner ahead of time, and our winner for this year's Cool K-PAC competition is John Yanconi. So John Yanconi is the chief engineer at Fincantieri Marine Systems. John unfortunately had a conflict with the timing of this particular slot. So Steve Boisvert, the lead application engineer on that account for Morris Knowledge Systems, is here to talk a little bit about John's knowledge packet. So we're going to share my screen and we will show you John's knowledge packet. John is presenting a little bit later in the conference, so we're not going to steal too much of his thunder, but we will go through the concept and show a little bit of a demonstration.
Yeah, a little bit of background. I've been working with John now for about 10 months, working with him and his team. And John has a real goal to make sure that he's providing his mechanic group that he oversees with accurate, up-to-date information. So what you see on your screen is one of many knowledge packets that the team has created. One of the cool things about what they're doing is they're taking several different knowledge sources, often several that conflict with one another, such as like technical manuals for engines that they repair, and often Navy requirements or Navy procedures that they have to incorporate. Sometimes they conflict, along with other internal best practices and guidelines that the organization has created. And he's created a common template that him and his team use to create knowledge packets for all the different repair and maintenance procedures that they execute on the engines of different naval vessels. And so the intent of these knowledge packets is to be delivered in the field to the individuals that are repairing the engines of naval or commercial vessels. And to kind of go through that, we chose this one having to do with checking and adjusting the valve and rocker arm clearance. And what you're going to see is, and you're going to see this in John's presentation, like I said, it's a template that they utilize. So it's a standard way to deliver the knowledge. So they'll have standard representation each time a procedure is opened by the mechanic team. And they all kind of start out the same of some of the prerequisites that are required. And what John's real intent is, if you click on that, Josh, there's details in there about some of the requirements, and John and his team made a lot of effort to go through and use layman's terms for a lot of these items, or in some cases, the specific item's name, what it's referred to in the field. So they've embedded a lot of detail on these steps, but in a lot of cases, you can see that this is just a basic method step, meaning if someone is familiar with this procedure, which they have a lot of experienced individuals that may not need to go through this every time, they can just quickly refer to it, close this box, and then check that it's complete, and move on to the next box, which is the disassembly. They kind of click in there. There's more information. There's some alerts to make sure things are taken care of, and they kind of incorporate some different features, like you can see in this one, where there's highlighting of text to warn of it, potential issues. They've also embedded multimedia. So a lot of these instructions refer to different components on the engine. So they have call outs that show where those components are located to help the mechanic team, realize where these items are on the engine. And if you want to go down to the next one, Josh, one of the neat things they also do is they use a lot of sub methods, and when they have detailed procedures or procedures within procedures, and those particular procedures have specific information that is required for objective quality evidence that they have to provide to the Navy, for example, they use a lot of logic nodes. So if you kind of zoom in a little bit, you can kind of see there's the graphic here shows the rocker arm, the intake valve, and the exhaust valve details. And if we want to get into the logic on that one, the logic on these steps helps them collect, critical information that they need to provide back to the Navy, or to the owner of the vessel. Like in this case, what was the rocker valve clearance before the maintenance event occurred? They need to track that. So when the mechanic team gets to these particular items, they enter in information. So just go ahead and put like whatever you want in there, Josh. It doesn't really matter. Just an example. So they track what the starting value is, and then they also track to what they set the valves to. And as you can see, the rule engine will process, showing whether things were good and bad. We provide that end user message to the mechanic team, letting them know why things are out of compliance, what to expect there. And like I mentioned, these details are part of a QA sheet that the U.S. Navy signs off on. So being able to put in the torque values or the measurement values or really any critical information, capacity limits, whatever happens, and having that stored as a parameter in the system, the plan is to use parameter reports to export that information, get sign off, and then turn that into the regulatory or the survey agency, whoever has to review that information as evidence that the job was completed and completed correctly. So I don't want to go too much further because John's going to go into a lot of detail on these. So if you get a chance, he has a presentation at noon today. Send him a chat and congratulate him. Unfortunately, like Josh said, he wasn't able to join us today during this time slot. But as you can see, he has some cool K-PACs, and you're going to see several of those cool K-PACs during his presentation.
Yeah, thanks, Steve. Like we said, we kind of had a shortened amount of time. So normally we would do a poll. We'd kind of vote on different knowledge packets. We unfortunately had to remove that portion of the Cool K-PAC competition from this year's conference. But we're certainly happy for all the submissions that we got. If you do have a Cool K-PAC that you'd like to enter into the contest, please contact your application engineer. You can contact me directly, really anyone at the IKAA, and we'll get those submissions in so you can participate in the competition. And then I also just wanted to let everyone know we don't have any Q&A. John, like Steve said, will be on a session later on around noon today where he'll be going through a lot of the content that Fingeteria is using. But just so everyone knows, I think, hold tight. I think we're going to do the drawing for the next Oros Yeti cooler pretty soon. So if there isn't anything else, I think, Steve, any closing remarks before we sign off and get ready for the next session?
No, just send John a little chat if you get the opportunity.
All right. We appreciate the time. Thanks to everybody, and we'll see you in about 15 minutes at the other session, at the next session with Jennifer Joseph from Stellantis.
Thanks, everyone.